What's up, everybody? So this is episode 1 of our Pursuing the American Dream bodybuilding vlog. I am Coach Chad. This is
Gabby.
This is Gabby, and we are Cognitive Fitness and Nutrition. So this is our first episode, our first attempt at essentially filming and vlogging our bodybuilding prep. She is going to be doing wellness category. I'm going to be doing bodybuilding for the second time. This is her first time ever prepping for a show. It's my second time since 3 years ago?
Yes.
Right? Now, with this bodybuilding vlog, we want to be able to give you glimpses into our world on navigating husband and wife dynamics as professionals in the field of training, nutrition, and everything that goes into all of that. So our perspectives on it, recommendations, if you are someone out there who is considering doing a bodybuilding prep or just wants to learn a little bit more about the ins and outs, because of course bodybuilding prep spans much further past the aesthetic gains, but the psychological challenges, the emotional hurdles that go into it, the financial constraints, and just about everything in between, we'd like to share with all of you. So with that being said, we're gonna start today's first episode by discussing the first 4 weeks of our bodybuilding prep, which started January 1st through the entire month of January. And why am I grouping the first 4 weeks all into one? Well, Gabby and I went through what is titled a H. pylori protocol.
Yes.
And that is a stomach bacteria that we went through a series of steps to not only get rid of, but to improve our overall gut health. And so this is the part where Chad, the training and performance coach, shuts the hell up because I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this H. pylori stuff. And I hand the reins and the microphone off to our nutrition coach, Gabby.
So, H. pylori is a bacteria that gets into your gut lining. And it is very common, half of the population actually has it. The thing is, a lot of times we don't understand our symptoms because we normalize them, and having this knowledge that there's a bacteria that might be causing that burning sensation in your stomach, or it might making you feel bloated every time that you do something, or are not even finishing your food and you're already feeling very full very fast. H. pylori is also super easy to spread. You can spread your partner using the same can, sharing utensils, because it's transmitted by saliva, or contaminate food. That is why, or contaminate water, very common in countries like Venezuela. So what you want to do is to first understand what is your current diet, because there is a protocol that you can do on your own if you have the resource to get the medications that you need, or you might get a blood test or a stool test from your doctor to determine if you actually have the bacteria.
Which we did.
Exactly.
We actually got the test to find out if we even
we
had this.
We test, we don't guess.
Exactly, before we actually dove into this. So that's important to mention, that we didn't just start this prep by just assuming we had a stomach bacteria.
Yes.
We had symptoms. I've had symptoms for over 10 years. I've used a combination of omeprazole and Tums to mask my symptoms,
which that lowers the pH of his stomach acid. So I know that there's going to be a lot of questions about this, and I will encourage people to ask, because the topic
please
is
feel free to
so
leave comments
extensive,
or DM us for questions.
that I can just talk for hours, and I don't want to do that to your time. But if you are curious and specifically about what this is, check my Instagram, I have information about it, or just feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you. Okay, anyway, a couple of things that people just need to be aware of. It is the symptoms, I will suggest to test and don't guess. And for the therapies, there's several options. First, there's a quadruple therapy. That is something that you're going to do with a combination of 2 types of antibiotics and other help from pharmaceuticals that your doctor might give you. Or you can also try to do it in a natural way, utilizing oregano oil and other natural herbs that are antibacterial, but that is going to take twice as much of time for you to get the results that you are looking for. And because we are technically on a crunch time, because we are prepping for our meet, we decided to go to the pharmaceutical route, just because it was time for us, what it matters the most at that time.
But we used a combination, no? Because we did use antibiotics and probiotics, but we also did use oregano oil,
yes,
DGLs.
Because we only have certain amount of antibiotics and other contexts that matter.
Right.
We could go hours talking about this. But anyway, since that you want to try to look when you are having certain symptoms, if you don't have the facility to go and test, or if your doctor doesn't think that you should test, or whatever it is, it's first understanding that the over intake of things such as Tums and omeprazole are going to lower your stomach acids, and by default that can have an impact in your digestive capacity. How do you break down and fully absorb things such as proteins, for example? So for people like us that we live, that we really want to recover and fuel our body, this is extremely important. This is going back to the root cause of what we're doing and what it's going to take us if we are able to put this effort. Second is that you want to look at foods that are anti-inflammatory. You want to look foods that are lower in histamines, and you want to try to avoid highly processed foods, alcohol, or acidity food, because the bacteria thrive in an acidity environment. I will gonna be putting a list, I believe, in here or in my Instagram about how those foods looks like and an idea of an overall protocol, because once again, all of these things that we're doing, even when we're giving you an idea how we do it because we want to help you, it should also be personalized in your symptoms, and if you don't have any other combinations of other gut issues such as IBS or Crohn's disease or things like that.
Makes total sense. So what you're saying is many causes can have similar symptoms.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, this is our vlog, so we're going to discuss strictly our approach and the actions that we've taken. We will give you little nuggets of helpful information, like Gabby will be linking in our description in the bio here. Some resources to learn a little bit more about maybe some of the food choices that can help you. Some resources about places maybe you can go to look to potentially get tested. Like we said, don't guess, test. Love that.
Test, don't guess.
Right? I love things that just rhyme, as if the world was built on all things that are truthful must rhyme. Isn't that kind of, anyway. So this is our vlog, and with that, so the first 4 weeks we got through the H. pylori protocol, right? But during those first 4 weeks, obviously we did other things preparing or getting into the prep for our shows. So after or outside of having stringencies on antibiotics, probiotics, food choices, food timing became a thing. So it's like with these kind of dictations and stringencies, the level of dictation and organization rises exponentially, right? As adults in America that are entrepreneurs, so we work for ourselves, we are already trying to manage so much of our time in our agenda so that we can keep our appointments, we can keep a steady consistency in communication and feedback loops with our clientele base, handling things like taxes, bills,
everything.
Right? Everything. Yeah. Throwing a bodybuilding prep into the mix, now there are more conditions to be applied. So we're talking about nutrition timing, we're talking about ratios of food. There is no guesswork here. So we were using a somewhat flexible dieting approach. This allowed us more opportunity to use foods that we enjoy, but it does require a great deal of cognition and focus, which is already a challenge when you are going through a bodybuilding prep, because you are going to be increasing your activity levels, so you're going to be increasing your overall demands while reducing your energy supply, right, through your food and nutrition. So you're literally burning yourself out at kind of ends. Yeah, it's a great choice.
Yeah.
So part 2 is setting a calendar and checklist. I think I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna have Gabby speak second here, because I think this is where I shine. So with having the initial experience of bodybuilding prep, one of the things that became very obvious to me right from the very beginning was I needed to keep a very consistent agenda, meaning I had to plan ahead of time when I was gonna do my cardio, when I was gonna do my training, when I was gonna do my posing, when I was gonna prepare my food. I couldn't go anywhere without these things considered, right? So based on the information that I had gathered in the first prep, which is a lot of trial and error, we came up with a brilliant spreadsheet checklist. So what we do is once a week, we print off this checklist and it literally lists out what time we weigh in, and everything is by the clock. I'm talking 15-minute increments here. Weighing in, morning vitamins. I like to do skincare. I don't like to do skincare, but she does. I do meditation in the morning, so I want to make sure that was a priority in my list. When we're doing check-ins with our coach, which means progress pics, measurements, body weight, feedback about our nutrition and our food and uploading information, our steps. I take my blood pressure and my heart rate. A bit of information that we can give them that is valuable for this situation, we need to supply on a weekly basis and iterate that information. Followed by other supplementation, because we're still in this H. pylori protocol. This means that we had to have certain supplements to help us in improving our gut health, our gut lining, right? And also, so we're trying to get rid of this bacteria, yeah? Different meal timings, the training, the posing, evening vitamins, evening rituals, and then just making sure that we actually got enough water, enough sleep, and enough downtime, and then trying to find some sort of time as a husband and wife couple for intimacy for each other, right? Part of the conditions that we set with our schedule is really so that when we are in the weeds, when the week is getting busy, it is Tuesday and we have a plethora of things that need to get done and it's every single day. What I came up with was a system to follow so that when things get even harder, when cognition lowers because calorie demand or calorie intake is continually being decreased through the show, physical demands are going to continue to increase, means our body is not going to be able to perform as well as it used to. So what we couldn't bank on is that our brains are going to work just as fine at keeping track of all the things that need to be done when they need to be done effectively, creating efficiencies, and so all of that stuff is going to get even harder. So right from the beginning, Gabby and I laid out these lists. Each week we have literally left ourselves notes, adding away things that seem to be improving. So literally each week we are being conscious of our inactions, our emotions, right? Our tendencies.
It's like a mini journal.
It is literally like a mini journal, which we have been journaling as well, and we highly encourage those things as well going into situations like this. Because the difficult part of my first prep was that Gabby wasn't going through it with me. I know that seems doesn't seem appropriate, but let me explain. Because I was the only person going through it and had never gone through it before, means that I had to be incredibly self-focused in order to make this happen. I had to divert time and attention and communication from my spouse in order to navigate this very steep transfer, like for me, right? This was something I had never done before. I had played sports and exercised my whole life, but not to this degree. So this time around, having her with me, she has had the opportunity to what it was like for me on my own, and now to delve into it, we now have calendars, checklists, things like that in place that are helping us so that literally on days when we are exhausted and we are hungry, this past week was a tough one, to just go through and just, oh, did I do that? At the end of the day, we are not kept up at night worrying, did we do everything we were supposed to? Did we fall within the parameters that we set aside? We will know more certainly because we actually have the data. Don't guess, test, keep that information, right? So that each week things are able to be more managed. So
I have another phrase for you.
Yeah?
Cannot be measured, cannot be improved.
There you go. What cannot be measured? Well, I'd like it better if it rhymed. It didn't rhyme, so not my favorite. So with that information, Gabby, so you coming into this for the first time, me encouraging this kind of strict, our calendars are, I'm gonna crop in B-roll here and clips of our calendars and what they look like. You'll see everything is on timers, reminders. I like to tell people that your phone should work for you. Your technology, your investments in products like these aren't just entertainment products. These aren't just ways in which you can communicate with the world that you're having a great Tuesday because you got to have.
They know, but they don't do it.
Thank you. Like to talk is that we need to be aware that there is so many options for us to be consistent, and that oftentimes we think that we're going to be able to juggle everything. The problem with thinking that you're going to be able to manage all the things that you need to do just in your own cognition is that you can only literally think about one thing. You can only do one thing at a time. Having an agenda, having a calendar means that you can literally take these things out of your brain, your ideas. The minute I get an idea or thing that I think I need to implement or try, I'm gonna write it down as soon as I can, because the minute I can write it down means I can literally forget it for the moment, and when the time is right for me to execute on that idea, it will be there. But it gives me an opportunity to clear my mind of said ideas and thoughts and whatever needs to be done, my agenda, so that I can focus on the task at hand. So I can be more present in the moment, enjoying my food, and basically
It's really important.
doing my job, doing whatever I'm doing at that moment to the best of my ability. So Gabby, tell me a little bit about how you feel when it comes to setting a calendar and the checklist about the first 4 weeks of prep.
First was terrible at first. I said terrible.
Did you mean terrible?
Yes.
Oh, that was terrible.
To be fully honest, I have been tracking macros since 2013, so to me it was never the fear of tracking or getting data. Actually, to me this is what it have helped me the most. I go times where I don't track for months, and then of course when I need to tie it up, I always go back to my tracking. But what I'm trying to say here, and probably you guys have noticed with this, I have ADHD, and there's different types under the spectrum of the ADHD, and I think this is worth mentioning because I don't drive by this type of certain structure. To me that feels like very rigid. My impulsiveness just want to do something different, and for bodybuilding I cannot do that. So this has been a mental battle more than the training. I freaking love the training. Thank you, coach. I freaking love my training. But it's like, to me, it's like I have to follow a list. But for some reason, sometimes I just don't feel to follow a list. Don't be dumb. Like this is your success map. And the first week was a challenge, but just as everything, once you replace one habit with another, it just starts to become a little bit easier. So I put stuff like mine is different from Chad, and I think we're going to show this in the screen somehow, because I also wanted to add things that fulfill my cup of life and not that I feel it's just draining it or making it more difficult for me. As silly as it sounds to me, doing my skincare, it is something very important, and I knew that if I put it in there and I get to see it, so I'm still doing everything that I know I should be doing based on this list, but I'm also working on other areas that I don't want to forget or feel that I'm putting a second play because I don't find the time. If I organize my schedule, I can find the time to keep doing my makeup, my skin routine, to pet my dogs, to be intimate, to do all these things that when someone, because I have mentioned this sometimes with my clients, see this type of schedule, they think, but that's too OCD, that's too rigid, like that's not how life works. Dude, we know that's not how life works, but this is temporarily. Exactly, this is just for a period of time of a choice that we know is going to enhance our experience as coaches, but also as athletes. And that's what I have to say about that.
There's a lot of emotion attached to all these feelings, and that makes sense. Recognizing, I think Gabby brings up really great points.
Thanks.
That recognizing your own tendencies, who you are as a human being self-aware. Bodybuilding is, the reason why I say bodybuilding is not life is because even people that are career bodybuilders, they coach it, they live it, their life depends on their body, right? For survival, knows that the bodybuilding part of it, right? And when I say bodybuilding, I'm talking about all the training, the cardio, the diet, the posing, the stage, all of that stuff. All of these things are literally just the travel and the experience, right? Going through a series of time where you're going to be focusing on these things, but that doesn't mean that your life and your relationships, right? Your happiness, your love, your finances, your economic status, your education, all of these things are what make you up and what make life special. Bodybuilding is just, it is a sport, and no matter how significant it is to you, it still is only gonna cover certain components. You're only going to get so much self-gratification, maybe increased wealth status. Maybe someone is competing and they're hoping that that is going to blossom into some sort of career. That is fantastic, but again, that is just your career and that doesn't define you. That's not your purpose in life.
It's not your identity.
Exactly. So I am all for when you bodybuild, you need to be 100% into it. You're absolutely right, but bodybuilding is still not life, because to me, you can't encompass what is life into such a simple, small series of choices and actions for an ultimate goal that is literally has a specific date behind it. So that's why I don't think bodybuilding is alive. But you brought up your ADHD, and some of the things that you just know as tendencies is that you want a little more variety, a little more freedom to act as if, right? I think what is important here is even with the scheduling, the calendar checklist, you put down what is most important to you. You point out your values of, I want to make sure I put forth skincare. I like to do mindful meditation and practice, especially in the mornings. I feel like it just helps me prepare for a better day, especially getting up during bodybuilding prep. You'll find that in the morning sometimes can be a challenge because you will wake up and remember just how challenging the rest of the day is going to be. But having these things that mean a lot to you, these core values, these core projects shouldn't be neglected. But you will have to make sacrifices and accept that you will not be able to do everything. So things like relationships, friendships, parties, get-togethers, these things do need to be deprioritized if bodybuilding, whatever category you're gonna compete in, if that is important to you, if you wanna do well, if it's not just a simple, hey, I'm just doing this for a bucket list, fantastic. But just know that going into it, that you need to have a firm idea of how important is this to you, okay? Who you are as a person, and are you in a place where you should even consider doing something like this, right? And then knowing the things that you're willing to basically give up for that time period, because it is just a short time period. It is not your entire life, once again, right? And there is things that you can do. You can swap habits, tendencies, dislikes, or even just consider that, hey, this thing that I really enjoy, cereal. Cereal is my favorite food. I know that cereal is still gonna be there in 6 months when I'm done with this bodybuilding prep and I can have cereal then. Knowing that these things are gonna be there later helps keep me going. So, the third and final part of our first vlog video is gonna be a question to you, and then you're gonna ask it to me. What surprised you, I guess I would say the most, but what things surprised you in the first 4 weeks of our bodybuilding prep? Could be good, could be bad.
I didn't hate it. Now moving forward several weeks.
I'm gonna flash back to when she was saying how miserable she was and terrible it was.
Hey, I was talking about the schedule.
You're right.
No, but I am a recoverer from a eating disorder. I have always wanted to do a bodybuilding show and avoided for fear of going back to that eating disorder. And now having many years of recovery, but also the support of you and my other coach, Keely, shout out to you. It's been really healing for me to see that mentally some days, of course, I'm like, I look terrible. I don't even know what I'm doing this to myself. I should just go and do X, Y, and Z instead. And that is something that allows me to acknowledge those thoughts, but don't take action on them. So proving myself that that part of my eating disorder have really gone a long way, and showing to my younger self, to my teenager self, kid that got so much bullying for how she looked at later on in life is not just gonna learn to have a better relationship with food, but also prove herself that now she can transform her body to the limits, because I know that at the end of this I'm gonna be crossing the bridge of health in order for me to get to that leanness of body fat percentage. But I'm more confident in myself that I'm gonna be able to do this with going back to actions that wouldn't make me feel proud. What about you? What surprised you the most within these first 4 weeks of our bodybuilding prep?
I have a similar answer, but for different reasons, which is I am also surprised at how well things are going in general compared to the first prep. And I believe that most of it has to do with the past 3 years. I have really put in a lot of effort towards my mental health with meditation, therapy, environmental changes, hard work, patience, big time patience, and just a number of other more positive choices. And just knowing that it is very common for bodybuilders in general, or any first-time competitors, to really come to a self-realization moment. I was gonna say moment, but it's a series of moments, because I feel that that is part of like you doing bodybuilding. Honestly, if we look at it from a scaled back just structural standpoint of it's just training and posing and activity and certain eating habits just repeated over time. It's not extremely, it's not technical. I mean, there's some technique stuff there, but even with the posing, the poses, I have 12 poses to learn. She has 4. That's still pretty simplistic if we compare it to sports like football, basketball, sports that have an opponent with multiple variables, multiple plays, situations, and scenarios that could come up. So you're literally trying to plan for so many different things, whereas bodybuilding is much more structured. It is a competition, but in large part, it really just comes down to your efforts and how consistent you can keep up with those efforts in managing all the things that are unforeseen variables that come along with it, but nothing like what it's like to play in other sports that involve a lot more technique. With this sport, it is repetition and consistency that really wins, right? With that kind of super structured, consistent behavior and limitations on things that, at least in the America, that's part of the reason why this is the Pursuing the American Dream bodybuilding vlog, is that this is a choice, this is a luxury, this is a sport that purposely starving yourself and putting conditions on it, purposely putting yourselves under physical demands, right, is a luxury because we're doing this by choice. No one is forcing us, and this is not because it's based on the environment and the resources that we have available. We have enough food to kill us. Like, we eat until we die. Like, that's not a problem here, right? So with that, the psychological demands and challenges that are faced that bring up my first prep, it was so eye-opening, so almost shocking how much my emotional well-being per day was based on my ability to just kind of flexibility. I ate well, but nothing compared to what we're doing now, anywhere near it. And for good reason. You should not try to eat like a bodybuilder or train like a bodybuilder if you're not doing a bodybuilding show. Know your goals, know what it takes. But in this, I think I'm so surprised with how challenging, how difficult it was to have everything that went through in that first prep, but how rewarding and how I just feel a better person, better man because of it. Because I learned so much about my needs, my emotional well-being and awareness, until the unconscious becomes conscious, truly start to understand ourselves. And I think that first prep gave me just a glimpse of that. So coming in the second one, right from the beginning, I am so much more self-aware than I ever was before. And I'm much more aware of our relationship and the demands. And that's why I'm really excited that you and I are doing this together.
Me too.
So guys, good luck. With that, this is the end of our first episode. If you like what you see, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and share. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments. We're gonna leave a whole bunch of materials.
We love questions. I love questions,
right? But we're also gonna leave lots of helpful material linked below. You can check us out at Cognitive Fitness and Nutrition on IG, on our website, on just about everywhere. We're out there. We're very loud online, so you'll probably find us there. So until next time.
Okay, bye.
Stay strong. Pursue that American dream.